Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're journeying back in time to ancient Egypt to uncover the story of a pharaoh so legendary, so powerful, that his name still echoes through the millennia. We're talking about none other than Ramses the Great, also known as Ramses II. Forget what you think you know from movies and stories. We're going to dive deep into the life of the man who ruled for an incredible 66 years, built monuments that defy imagination, and left a legacy that few rulers in history can match. So grab your virtual fedora, and let's explore the world of the builder pharaoh, the great ancestor, the one and only Ramses II. Born around 1303 BC, Ramses was not originally in the direct line of succession. His grandfather, Ramses I, was a military commander who founded the 19th dynasty, a new era for Egypt. His father, Seti, was a formidable pharaoh in his own right, known for his military campaigns and restoration projects. From a young age, Ramses was groomed for greatness. He was named Prince Regent when he was just a teenager, around 14 years old. This wasn't just an honorary title, he was actively involved in the affairs of the state, learning the ropes of kingship directly from his father. He accompanied Seti on military campaigns, participated in religious ceremonies, and oversaw construction projects. This early training was crucial. It gave him first-hand experience in warfare, diplomacy, and the complex administration of the Egyptian empire. By the time Seti passed away around 1279 BC, a young but experienced Ramses in his early 20s was more than ready to take the throne and begin a reign that would redefine the very concept of a pharaoh. Now, you can't talk about Ramses II without talking about the Battle of Kadesh. This is one of the most famous and well-documented battles in ancient history, and it perfectly illustrates Ramses's character, both his military prowess and his genius for propaganda. The battle took place around 1274 BC, in his fifth year as pharaoh. The target was the city of Kadesh, a strategic fortress in modern-day Syria, controlled by the powerful Hittite Empire. Ramses marched his army of about 20,000 men, divided into 4 divisions, toward Kadesh. However, the Hittites were masters of deception. They sent spies who, under interrogation, falsely told the Egyptians that the Hittite army was far away. Believing them, Ramses and his leading division rushed ahead, becoming separated from the rest of his forces. It was a trap. The Hittite king, Uwatali II, had hidden his massive army of nearly 40,000 soldiers and 3,000 chariots behind the city. They launched a surprise attack, smashing into the side of the 2nd Egyptian division, and then charging straight for Ramses's camp. The situation was disastrous. The Egyptian forces were in chaos, scattering in panic. It looked like the end for the young pharaoh. But this is where the legend of Ramses was forged. According to his own account, which he later inscribed on temple walls all over Egypt, Ramses found himself virtually alone, surrounded by thousands of Hittite chariots. Instead of surrendering, he prayed to the god Ammon and single-handedly charged into the enemy ranks. He claimed to have fought with superhuman strength, cutting down his foes and rallying his wavering troops. While this is almost certainly an exaggeration, his personal bravery and leadership in that critical moment were undeniable. He managed to hold the line just long enough for reinforcements to arrive and turn the tide of the battle. The fight ended in a stalemate, with both sides suffering heavy losses. So, was it a victory? Militarily, it was a draw at best. But in terms of public relations, it was a massive win for Ramses. He returned to Egypt and portrayed the Battle of Kadesh as an overwhelming personal triumph, a testament to his divine favor and martial skill. He plastered the story everywhere, ensuring that for generations to come, everyone knew the tale of his heroic stand. This event led to another one of Ramses's greatest achievements, the world's first ever recorded peace treaty. After years of continued conflict and skirmishes following Kadesh, both the Egyptians and the Hittites realized that neither side could achieve a decisive victory. They were draining their resources and manpower. So, in 1259 BCE, Ramses and the new Hittite king, Hattusili III, did something revolutionary. They negotiated and signed a formal peace treaty. We actually have copies of this treaty, preserved on a silver tablet in the Hittite archives and inscribed on the walls of Egyptian temples. The treaty established a pact of non-aggression, a defensive alliance, and agreements on the extradition of political refugees. To seal the deal, Ramses later married a Hittite princess, who became one of his great royal wives. This treaty brought stability to the region for decades and stands as a landmark moment in the history of international diplomacy. It showed that Ramses was not just a warrior, but also a shrewd statesman who understood the value of peace. But perhaps what Ramses is most famous for is his incredible building program. If you've been to Egypt, you've seen his work. He was the most prolific builder in Egyptian history, and his goal was clear: to make his name immortal. He didn't just build new temples, he expanded existing ones, often adding his own touches and statues to the works of previous pharaohs. His name is literally carved in stone all across the land. His grandest project was arguably his own mortuary temple, the Ramesseum. Though now in ruins, it was once a vast complex with towering statues, massive courtyards, and libraries filled with thousands of papyrus scrolls. And of course, there's Abu Simbel. These two massive rock-cut temples in southern Egypt are simply breathtaking. The main temple is guarded by 4 colossal statues of a seated Ramses, each over 65 feet tall. Twice a year, on his birthday and coronation day, the rising sun penetrates the inner sanctuary and illuminates the statues of the gods and of Ramses himself, a stunning feat of ancient engineering and astronomy. He also completed the grand hypostyle hall at Karnak Temple, one of the most awe-inspiring sacred spaces ever constructed, and established a new capital city in the Nile Delta called Pyramus, a bustling metropolis that became the heart of his empire. Ramses's personal life was just as grand as his public one. He had numerous wives, but his most beloved was his first great royal wife, Nefertari. Her name means the beautiful companion, and the evidence suggests a genuine love story. Ramses built her one of the most beautiful tombs in the Valley of the Queens, its walls covered in vibrant, exquisitely detailed paintings that still look fresh today. He dedicated the smaller temple at Abu Simbel to her and the goddess Hathor, with the inscription stating that she was the one for whom the sun shines. When she passed away relatively early in his reign, it was a profound loss. But Ramses lived on, fathering an astonishing number of children, possibly over 100 sons and daughters, with his many wives and concubines. He outlived many of them, including his first 12 sons. It was his 13th son, Merneptah, who finally succeeded him, already an old man himself. Ramses's long life and numerous offspring ensured the stability of his dynasty for a time and cemented his image as a patriarchal figure, the great ancestor of his people. So, how did he do it all? How did one man manage to rule for 66 years, fight epic battles, sign historic treaties, and build on a scale that dwarfs almost everyone else in history? The answer lies in a combination of factors. Egypt during his reign was prosperous. A well-organized administration and a thriving economy, fueled by agriculture and trade, provided the wealth needed for his ambitious projects. He was a master of propaganda, using art and architecture to project an image of divine power and military might that reinforced his authority. And he had incredible longevity. Ruling for over 6 decades gave him the time to see his grand visions through to completion. He lived to be around 90 years old, an extraordinary age for that era. When he finally died, he was buried in the Valley of the Kings, in a tomb that was later plundered by ancient tomb robbers. His mummy, however, was saved by priests and moved several times before being rediscovered in 1881. Today, you can see the face of the great pharaoh himself in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, a silent testament to a ruler who was larger than life. Ramses II wasn't just a pharaoh, he was an institution. He defined what it meant to be a king in the new kingdom. He was a warrior, a diplomat, a builder, and a family man on an epic scale. His reign represents the peak of Egyptian imperial power and cultural expression. While he may have exaggerated his victories and put his name on buildings he didn't construct, there's no denying his impact. He left behind a legacy so monumental that even 3,000 years later, we are still in awe of his accomplishments. He truly earned his title, Ramses the Great. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey into the world of Ramses II. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. What do you think is his most impressive achievement? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure into history. See you next time.